Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the Direct Insurance Podcast, otherwise known as DIP, a podcast for independent insurance agents, brought to you by Insurance Advisors Direct. And today we are going to be developing smart action plans in order to achieve success in your business. And today I have an amazing guest here. Hi.
Hi.
So this is Gabby Curry. Gabby, go ahead and introduce yourself for the audience.
Sure. So I'm actually Gabrielle Curry. I am a agent. I've been an agent for the past a little over a year. Very new for me, very exciting, lot to learn, but very rewarding.
Good.
Yes.
Good. Awesome. Okay. So actually, it's kind of funny. So I actually met Gabrielle when we were, I'm just going to call you Gabby because it feels like unnatural for me to call you Gabrielle.
I know, right?
Unless I'm going to say like your full name.
Exactly. Yes.
So Gabby and I met working at Victoria's Secret, but funnily enough, we had actually gone to high school together, but we didn't know each other. And I remember coming up to you in the store and just being like, oh yeah, so like, no, where'd you go to high school? And you were like, oh yeah, I went to this high school. And I was like, oh my gosh, no way, me too. And I was like, what year did you graduate? And we were like, 2010. And we were like, oh.
So we graduated together,
yeah.
right?
I was like, why do I not know you?
Sad. If I could do high school over, we would be friends.
Oh, 100%. Actually, I'm not going to lie. If I could do high school all over again, I feel like I would be a completely different person from who I was back then because I feel like so much changes.
Yes.
And if I could go back and do it all over again, I feel like there would be lots of people that I would have told to, just like, get out of here.
Yeah. Yeah, I can agree with that.
Yeah. But yeah, so today we're going to be talking about smart action plans. Let's go ahead and dip into some insurance. So really quick, let's kind of go over what a smart action plan is. So SMART is essentially a plan that one can easily use to clearly define your personal or business goals, outlining steps to take in order to achieve those goals. So Antoine de Saint-Exupéry, I don't know if I'm saying that correctly. That's my like fancy French accent from my 1 year of French in high school. A goal without a plan is just a wish. So having a smart action plan in order to achieve any number of goals that you want to achieve in your business is a smart idea.
No pun intended.
Right, exactly.
All pun intended.
All the puns intended. Oh my gosh, I love dad jokes.
Yeah.
Oh my goodness.
I know. Oh, I know. Oh, I know.
The older that I get, the more that I'm just like, yes, dad jokes. Oh my goodness. Oh, let's go ahead and break down what the acronym SMART stands for. So a SMART action plan stands for specific, measurable, attainable, relevant, and time-based or time-bound. It depends on which resource you use to look it up. No matter your goals, big or small, it's important to have a roadmap to your business in order to achieve any sort of like production goals. You need to be able to have an outline in your mind of what it is that you need to do in order to achieve those goals. And then being able to, have like a long-term goal, like maybe it's a year, maybe it's 6 months, maybe it's 5 years, maybe it's 10 years, whatever your like long-term goal is, but then having multiple short-term goals in order to really like see the building blocks of your progress, where you're going, what you're doing, and being able to see what worked and what didn't. Because I feel like a lot of people in businesses, and I want to say that there's some sort of like crazy statistic that I think it's like 80% of small businesses fail in their first year. And a lot of insurance agents kind of like end up falling into that statistic because most of the time they're independent. They don't really have like a game plan or an action plan. They don't really know where to start. They don't have the support necessary in order to achieve success. So it's being able to establish a smart action plan when you're starting out as an agent. When you're owning your own business, it's really important to have smart action plans or just SMART goals in general so that then you can outline, again, what worked, what didn't, and then you can kind of see what else you need to do in order to achieve whatever goals that you've set. So tell me a little bit more about how you use SMART action plans in your business with your agency.
So typically we track our progress mostly, of course, daily, but really we have quarterly goals. And that's really how we're, I'd say, tracked from our company per se. But as an agent, I track myself weekly. So I have a goal to how many calls I'm going to make. I do door knocks. So people that have inquired, so it's not just random door knocks. It is like targeted to people that actually want information and help. So I have a goal to how many door knocks I do a week, how many calls I make, how many houses I sit in, and definitely how many apps I write. We have actually, it's like a little perk, but we have a contest right now to do 2 apps a week, and we're put into a drawing. So that's really the standard, but it's also at least the minimum. The
Yeah.
minimum to where you're going to make the income that you want and for you to be productive with the company.
Okay, cool. I would so for myself, obviously, like you know that I'm a freelance makeup artist, and
Yes.
so in my business, the way that I kind of track what I don't want to say like production, but I guess just like the number of bookings that I make
Hmm.
is I'll kind of start off with a goal for what I want to book for an entire year. So
Okay.
obviously there's only 52 weeks in a year. So
Hmm.
I mean like in an ideal world, it would be perfect to book a wedding every single Saturday for the
Hmm.
year. But that's I mean, some people do that, but
Hmm.
not everybody's going to get married every Saturday of the year. So
Exactly.
it's kind of
Right.
just like unrealistic to think that way.
Hmm.
But it's more just starting off with an achievable goal. So when we're thinking about smart action plans, we're thinking about what is the specifics of the goal.
Hmm.
So if you're saying that you want to do 2 apps a week, what does that look like for an entire year? So out of 52 weeks out of the year, you're producing that's what
104.
104. Yeah, okay.
Yes.
I
I'm
have
glad we did that together.
yes. I swear
Yeah.
to God, I feel like I've been out of school for too long. I tell you, I tell you, if you give me like a pen and paper, I can solve like quadratic equations like by hand. But when it comes to like simple
Mental.
addition, subtraction, multiplication, and division, I'm
Yeah,
like,
think about it.
wait, what? Like, let me grab my calculator. So let's go ahead and make smart action plans relevant to independent agents. So to me, I feel like what that would look like is benchmarking your current production. So, or
Mhm.
even if you're brand new to the business, finding out like what is realistic and attainable for a
Mhm.
brand new agent, and then really just like setting those production goals, benchmarking maybe what you did last year or
Mhm.
like 2 years prior to that, and then maybe adding an additional like 10, 20, 30%, or maybe if you want to go
Mhm.
all in and you just want to completely double your last year's production, and then you
Mhm.
can have that set to like 100%.
Right.
So yeah, you would kind of want to start off with outlining how many apps do you currently do a week and a month and then a year, and then conducting a analysis, understanding what your strengths and weaknesses are, and then
Mhm.
your opportunities, and then your threats as a business.
Mhm.
So for anybody who does not know what a SWOT analysis is, SWOT is another acronym that stands for strengths, so what sets you apart, your weaknesses, what keeps you from being the best, your opportunities, or what external factors are standing in your way of achieving success,
Mhm.
and then the threats, which are the potential harm to your business. So when you're benchmarking and outlining these different production goals, it gives you a starting point to measure your growth, while your SWOT analysis is going to outline any limitations, whether that be internal or external. So let's go ahead and start with the goal term. So in length. So you said that you start off with quarterly goals. Tell me a
Mhm.
little bit more about what those quarterly goals look like, and then
Mhm.
how you are able to achieve those quarterly goals
Mhm.
by breaking them down into weekly goals and then therefore daily.
Okay. So my quarterly goal is to make 6,000. So that breaks down to 2,000 a month, 1,000 a week.
Hmm.
And typically to do that is about 2 apps a week. I average right now probably about 1.5. And I'd say that my plan to get that up, I'm actually working with newer agents now. I've been kind of like being groomed to be in a management position. So I help out with a lot of new agents. So I feel like that will help me as far as the skill,
Hmm.
because I feel like it pushes you a lot harder when you know you have someone watching you and learning from you. So you feel like you want to do your best and know all the information and do everything correctly. My goal is to have 18 appointments a week, because we have to be realistic, dealing with humans here.
Yeah.
So a lot of people, I won't say a lot of people, but you have to account for some people that are going to cancel on you, some people that are not going to cancel on you. You're going to show up at their house and they're not there. Got to account for those too.
Hmm.
And then also, I say definitely paying attention to the areas that I work in, because that seems to have an effect on retaining appointments. It seems odd to say, but it really does. I try and stick to my area, like Oakland County,
Hmm.
because I find that working in some areas, I don't know, people are just not really, they want the information, but they're not really ready to move forward. So you'll have to also account for the people that do want to move forward, but just don't have the funds to.
Yeah.
So I feel like I at least get satisfaction from at least sharing information, because at that point you can make the decision on your own whether you're going to
Yeah.
move forward or not. So just being able to sit down with at least, out of those 18 appointments, at least 11 to 12 of those people. And I do get some help. Like I said, I work with newer agents, so the appointments that they schedule that I go on, that kind of helps my weekly number too. But I say typically when I'm falling short, the good thing is we have an app that we can use while we're out in the field that shows us people that have inquired for information. So it's like even if I fall short, I can, while I'm out, I can just hit a couple people, the area that I'm in, and try and make something work that way. Some people will literally let you in the house and you can help them right then, or you schedule a time to come back the next day or whatever. So I feel like we do have resources that we can fill in our day if need be. Now, I do say my weekly goal for door knocking is 10. However, usually I do a little more than that because typically I find my client that I don't find on social media. Like the ages like 60 and up, they're really not on. I mean, they're on social media, but they're really not gravitating towards posts and reaching out that way. It's almost like, okay, they're reading my articles that I post, but not necessarily reaching out. So those people, it's kind of easier to make a in-person connection with. So I kind of use my field time when I'm out door knocking to kind of target those people. On the social media side of things, I feel like it helps me a lot with my generation because, we're on social media all day.
Oh, yeah.
So it's like you can post something in the morning, middle of the night, someone's going to see it.
Yeah.
I do feel like I get some feedback from my posts. I would like more engagement because I do feel like I can see the views, I can see the accounts that I reach, but people don't necessarily comment or reshare, and that's what I'm looking for. It's like to kind of get a broader audience.
So that's something that I've noticed with social media as well, is that the millennial generation, we're all on social media and we're all like very like addicted to social media.
Very much so.
But at the same time, we don't really necessarily engage with posts. And I don't know whether it's just because we've been so desensitized to it because we've been using it for so long. I mean, I remember it was like my freshman year of high school where I was using MySpace. I didn't really start using Facebook until it was like junior or senior year. So that was like 2009, 2010. And then Twitter was really, really big during those years as well. So I had kind of gone from MySpace to Twitter, then to Facebook, and then to Instagram. And then that was kind of like it for a while, and at least until TikTok came along. Actually, no, I really started heavily using YouTube. I'd probably say around like 2016, 2017, and then that's kind of when like the makeup and beauty stuff like really took off for me as well. So just kind of like seeing how the evolution of how people have really used social media and really like what generations are really engaging with content. I have found that there are quite a few people that are maybe like even like our parents' age, like, maybe in like their like late 50s, early 60s, and then like getting into Medicare. Those are the people that are really engaging with content. So they're always, of course, like the people that are like, oh, like, hey, Debbie, like, oh, the kids are looking so good. Oh, yeah. Like, oh my goodness, you look fabulous. Oh my goodness. Like, whatever. Like,
I love the Miss Doubtfire.
But so let's go ahead and jump into this, again, the specifics of what it's like to start a SMART goal. So your specific goal shouldn't just be, oh, I want to make more money. It's like, okay, well, that's not specific. That's like, yeah, that's kind of like the end goal. But at the same time, like, what are you going to do to get there? In order to be very specific, your specific goal would be, like I had used before, the example of increasing production by whatever percentage. So increase production by 10% compared to last year's production is a very specific goal. And you can outline exactly what that goal looks like and outline who, what, where, when, and why, and what you want to accomplish, who's involved, when to achieve it by, and why are you setting this goal. So, for example, if you wanted to increase your production by 10%, what would you end up doing in order to achieve that goal? You could say something like, okay, I'm going to post educational content to social media consistently for 3 months in order to attract 5 new clients. And then that will get me to my 10% goal over last year's production during whatever amount of time frame. And then that's kind of also ties into the measurable as well, because then if you're able to say like, okay, I want to get 5 new clients in order to increase my production by 10%, then that's, kind of like where your measurement comes in, because you're obviously able to count like, okay, I wrote 5 apps, like, this is how I'm able to increase this production. And that's the reason why your benchmarking is so important. And then that's also kind of gives you a timeline to ensure that you're meeting your goals on time as well. So like, that if you need to write 2 apps a week, then that's what, like 9, maybe like 10 apps in a month. So for example, what are the different, like, so I know that we had talked about door knocking. You've done kind of like would you describe your it's not necessarily like cold calling. You're not making like cold calls. These are
Mm-hmm.
clients that have reached out for information, and then
Right.
you are just, so they're not cold leads. They're
Right.
warm.
Right. Right. Yes. So we have a system to where we mail out.
Hmm.
Well, our company mails out people in our servicing area, which we service pretty much the Metro Detroit area.
Hmm.
So they do like a push of mailers to everyone. So even if they didn't inquire to us, we've at least sent them something. So it's either one. And we typically try to follow up with them, ideally in the first couple weeks of them reaching out, because that's typically when we call it a hot lead. And then we also get, since we're a local agency, we get forwarded inquiries from internet searches. Like people are just going on Google searching for life insurance. They'll forward it to us since we have a local office. And then we also work with a company to where they market on TV. So it's like people inquire through them, and then we reach out to them as a local agent. So we have a lot of different resources to talk to people. I feel like my best resource to use is, honestly, I'm getting better at this, but just what we call personal introduction while you're out in public, while you're grocery shopping, getting your little, just even on your own time, just walking up to people. And more than likely, it's getting a little better now. During our lockdown, our COVID, everybody was a little uptight.
6 feet.
Nobody want to
6
talk
feet.
to anybody out in public. So I at least say it's getting better. People are lifting the guards a little bit to talk to people in public. And I'm going to say I'm one of those people, because I was not trying to talk to people. I just wasn't.
Yeah. No,
So
same.
now I try and make it a contest or a goal to talk to a certain amount of people. Like sometimes I can make it into a game. When I'm out with my sisters, I'm like, just dare me to talk to someone and share my information. And that takes a little stress off of me, because now it's a challenge, to where before doing insurance, I was working from home. I did customer service. So I became really in my shell, very much scared to talk to people, very much socially awkward. So I think that kind of challenges me to talk to people. And I really feel like that's the best client for me. It's like someone that you've met organically, because it's just an easier conversation. It's less stressful. I also like to do seminars. So most of the time I work with another agent, because I'm just not that people person-y enough to just be sitting at a table by myself trying to talk to all these strangers. So I have somebody with me, another agent with me, that we kind of double team. And I feel like that's given us a lot of success too, because that lets us share what we do with other people, but also, just taking their information and setting something up with them for a later time. So it's like a very quick process to get 10, 12 numbers in 2 hours.
Yeah.
I've also been trying to, when I'm visiting people like in senior homes, I'm just reaching out to their event coordinator, because so many people need help with Medicare, as far as seniors that they don't have any family, or, just don't have the resource to get information. So we try and do seminars to where, like the same kind of setup, a table type of thing, come give your information, we'll reach out to you later, and that seems to be like a good success. So my goal for that is like at least one of those a month, because it's like just a push, like a group of people at one time, to where to schedule that many appointments on the phone, I would probably have to make 200-300 phone calls.
Yeah.
So that kind of cuts down on time a lot. The top for me is personal referrals. Like, even if I met someone from just calling from an inquiry, if they refer me to someone that they know, that's like 10 times a better client than somebody random, because it's like, you build that credibility right off top. So
yeah,
it's
I was going to say credibility.
Yes.
So I'm really glad that you brought up credibility, because credibility is one of the things that I've been talking about with a lot of my agents so far, and trying to establish their credibility online utilizing social media. So being able to explain to the consumer online who you are, what you do, and how what you do provides value. And I like how you said that you will sometimes even sit down with another agent when you're talking to a client, because sometimes I feel like that establishes a little bit more credibility as well, because sometimes I feel like people can be really intimidated when it's maybe just one person. I think that a lot of people see a business when they see more than one person. And sometimes, like, when you're an independent agent, you're like, I'm just like a one-woman show. Like, it's just me. And they're like, oh, okay, that's kind of cool. But they have to be able to establish that credibility with you first.
Yes.
But if you're sitting down with another agent, they're like, okay, so this is not just like a scam,
Right.
these are actual people, maybe you're wearing like the polo with like, the agency logo on it. So that I feel like establishes a little bit more of that comfort level for them.
Yes.
Because seniors are obviously very like, we've got our
Guarded.
guard up. I think that a lot of even young people, though, have their guards up to that as well.
We're in a scam culture.
Yes.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, and because like, scams have just gotten so much more prevalent, and it's not even just the like, oh, your warranty on your car insurance.
Oh no, it's getting serious.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I can't tell you how many phone calls I get on a daily basis, and they're like, oh, can I talk to Kelsey? And I'm like, well, what business do you have with Kelsey? They're like, oh, well, this is a personal business matter. I need to be able to speak to Kelsey. And I'm like, okay, well, what sort of personal business matter does this involve? Like, is it, tax related, like whatever else?
Right.
And they can't tell me. So I'm like, okay, well, if you can't even tell me what sort of business matter it is, then that
Right.
means that I don't need to be talking to you. And I just don't
Exactly.
even tell them that it's me. I'm like, who's calling? I'm sorry, who is this? And
Exactly.
of course they like speed through like what like business name or company name it is. And I'm like, if I have to ask you 7 times
Yeah.
to repeat yourself as to what the name of
You
this
didn't
business
want me to
is.
hear it.
Exactly. And it's like, I'm sorry, I'm not going to talk to you. And I feel like there are so many people that are very like gullible and they're very trusting. And those are the people that I feel like are really falling for those Medicare scams. Like they'll get either the phone calls or they'll get the mailers, and maybe they're already in like a Medicare plan that they like, but then maybe they'll get something in the mail and they're like, oh, well, this is from Medicare, or like they'll get the phone call like, oh, I'm calling from Medicare.
Exactly.
And,
Right.
yeah.
We come across that a lot. Breaking down those barriers with people, just because, and that's another reason why to those clients we try to knock on their doors and be in person, because they're getting so many phone calls, they're getting so many things in the mail. It's like at some point you just start throwing it away.
Yeah.
And so many, like you said, so many people fall victim to those scams. Seniors, some of them don't have people helping them. So they're just thinking, oh, someone's calling to help me, and that's not necessarily the case. Even, it's crazy to say, but my mom is like, she's in that senior group, and I'm her agent, right?
Yeah.
And someone called her over the phone from a different company and switched her health insurance. And she's just thinking like, okay, they're offering me a better deal. But I'm like, Mom, they don't know anything about you. They don't know your health. They don't know how often you go to the doctor. They don't know how you use this plan. I'm
Yeah.
like, they're just switching you, and this is not right for you. So I even had to like tell my mom, like, ignore the phone calls. They're not going to stop. Just don't answer. So I can't imagine how many other people are affected that way.
Oh,
my
yeah.
own mom is.
Oh yeah.
You know.
But it was actually I was tagged in a post from a Facebook group. In this post that somebody had posted anonymously saying that her 80-year-old grandmother keeps getting phone calls from people who are claiming to be from Medicare. And I was just telling my friend about, my experience with, I had somebody call me from like, oh, we're calling from Medicare, like, no, because you've reached out to us about blah, blah, blah. And I'm like, first of all, I'm 30 years old. I'm not I'm not old enough
I'm
for
not
Medicare.
disabled, okay?
And I was like, okay, well, what's your name and your NPN? And they were like, what? And I was like, what's your full name and your NPN? I'm going to be reporting you to CMS because I'm not considered a lead. You're not allowed to do this. What's your full name and NPN? Click.
Yeah.
Like,
I don't
they
even
hung up so
have
fast.
one.
Literally. So that's what I had told that's what I kind of basically what I had said, like in my reply to them was like, first of all, Medicare is never going to call you. Ever, 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 ever. They're never going to call you. So if you are getting phone calls, you can like listen to what they have to say. Like obviously, I'm never going to be the person to be like, just cuss them out over the phone and hang up. Like, obviously don't do that. But obviously still be nice. There's still a human being on the other end of the phone.
If you choose to answer the phone.
Exactly. But if you are answering the phone, obviously never ever ever give out your Medicare number, never give out your birthday, your social security number, your address.
Don't confirm. They'll probably even try and trip you up and ask you, is your birthday this? Is your name this? Even with you agreeing to that. That's all they need.
Yeah.
You signed up in a whole nother plan that you didn't even know.
Exactly.
It's so terrible.
So it's just being able to, and I feel like there is so much education that like our seniors are really not getting. And I feel like there are some people that are really on social media. They're very privy to all of like the scams and they know about it. But a lot of these like older seniors that are still in maybe like really, really old MedSup plans or really old Medicare Advantage plans even, and that are not receiving any of the benefits that they realistically realistically need. And they're getting phone calls like left and right. And I'm very thankful that my grandmother is very privy to all of these like different scams and stuff, because my grandpa was very, very like, don't answer the phone from anybody that you don't know. Like if you don't already know them, like he was very untrusting.
Okay.
So now she's very untrusting as well.
In a good way though.
Yes. And so it makes her smarter about it. And she doesn't give out her information like that. But I feel like so many seniors do. And it's just from the time that they were raised. It's the, they didn't grow up with technology like we did.
Yeah.
The technology was very different. I feel like even for the millennial generation, we were very apt and taught by our parents. Don't put anything super personal online. Don't tell anybody your birthday. Obviously, never put your social security number out online.
Right.
But, don't put things out on social media like those like little quizzes and stuff like, gosh, yeah. what was your mother's maiden name?
Yeah.
What was the street
security
you grew up
questions.
on? Yeah, like this. And it's like, here we are like giving out all of these security answer questions, and my mom's just like, okay, let's not do that.
Yeah.
But as we've kind of grown up with that, so we've kind of realized and we've become more savvy to that. Whereas like with Gen Z, they've grown up with technology their entire lives. Like most of these, I'm just gonna say kids because they are.
They are.
No, they were born after the year the iPhone came out, and I'm just like, I sit here and I think to myself,
that's
like,
wild.
how quickly technology and time has progressed over the last 15 years.
Yep.
We now walk around with computers in our pockets. Do you remember when? Actually, I was watching. This is kind of embarrassing, but I was watching the second Magic Mike movie with my husband the other night, because we were just like, you know what? I remember these actually being like somewhat good movies. Like, they're entertaining.
These good people, good actors.
Yeah. So, but I remember it was towards like the end of the movie. They're at the show, and like the girl who actually didn't know was played by Amber Heard. So Amber Heard's character, she's got this like little digital camera hanging off her arm, and I'm like, oh my god, how old is this movie? And I'm like, oh my goodness, it's only from like 2012, 2013 or something like that. And I'm like, oh my goodness, have we really
10 years ago?
But like nowadays, you'd be shocked to see someone carrying around like a small digital camera on their arm, because we all use our phones as cameras now.
Unless you're buying an expensive type professional, you're almost best to use your phone.
Yeah. Okay. So it's crazy to see how the technology has advanced. And so when you think about how all these seniors, they've been around for all of the technology, but they never really had a desire or a need for it. Because I also feel like in the 80s and 90s and then the early 2000s, what sort of like avenues for advertising were out there? And you think about the fast fashion industry and how quickly things have been moving in regards to that as well. We're constantly sitting here with stuff in our faces and people like pushing stuff in front of us and just making us want these items that realistically we don't need. So people who are like in their, maybe 60s, 70s, 80s, they're not sitting here like looking at the latest like shoe trend or whatever. They're like, I've got 4 pairs of shoes and they work just fine.
That's smart.
Yeah. Speaking of smart, let's get let's get back to the SMART action plan. So let's go ahead and talk about what goals are attainable. So when we're thinking about like your attainable goals, we want to start small and kind of like build up from there. So it's nice to set like those really, really nice big goals. Maybe you might have like a regular goal and then you'll have a stretch goal, but they should be attainable and realistic. Because say for example, if you were going to say to yourself like, okay, my current production is 1.5 apps per week. I want to start doing 10 apps a week. Granted, it could be done, but is it attainable?
It's not realistic.
Yeah. And you have to really start setting those goals based on your experience, your last year's level of production. You have to think about, your client retention. And you also have to think about too, like what is going to be realistic for you. Because if you want to sit there and say like, okay, I want to serve, 1,000 people this year, but then it's like, okay, well, as an independent agent, how many of those clients are you realistically able to maintain a relationship with in order to keep those renewals and be able to keep in touch with them? Because otherwise you're just going to keep spinning your wheels, because if you're not able to maintain those client relationships, you're not going to get those renewals, and you're not going to be built, or the referrals. So you're going to keep like you're trying to like build a business that's not going to get built anywhere. It's like you're building up a brick wall, and then as soon as you're done building another one, you start on the next one and the previous brick wall has fallen down because because you
Yes.
weren't maintaining those relationships.
Yes, yes.
So making sure that you're able to set goals that are attainable, not only for what your production is for this year, but then how are you going to be able to maintain those client relationships? So actually speaking of which, how is it that you maintain client relationships with people that you've worked with in the past?
I'm glad you asked that because this is like really important to me. I feel like once I make a connection with a person, it's easy to just like forget about them. Like, oh, I
Yeah.
got the business, that's it. But I like to follow up. I send thank you cards. I send birthday cards.
Yeah.
I send out sympathy cards. Like, especially like if I'm just calling somebody checking up, their family member passed away. If I go to someone's door that's not even my client, they're like, oh, the person I'm looking for passed away. I send their family a sympathy card.
Yeah.
So just trying to, I don't know, be a human. Be a
Yeah.
human about the situation.
I don't know. I don't understand why. Okay, so I feel like there are so many agents that I talk to that are like, I don't know what to do, and it's like, just be a good neighbor, like
Yes.
be good neighborly. Like honestly, I feel like those are the things that in a world of fast fashion, fast business, where like we're moving at the speed of light here, and we're constantly just like going forward with whatever we think is working, but we forget to slow down and
Yes.
actually treat people like people. And because because remember what it was like working at Vicky's, right? So
Yeah.
it's like you can't just like go up to some. I mean, like granted, like sometimes the company really did want us to go up to people and be like, "Hey, let me get you fitted for a new bra today." And then
Yes.
they're like, some people were like, "No."
Right.
Some people were like, "Oh, I guess I could." Like
Yes.
you kind of have
Mixed
to like test the
reviews.
waters a little bit. But what
Yes.
I found was always the best was whenever I would approach someone and just be like, "Oh my gosh, your outfit is super cute. I love that on you." And then we would just start up a conversation, and then I would be like, "Oh, well, here, like, what else did you buy at the mall today? Oh, you got this like super cute dress from Forever 21. Oh, cool, that's so cute. What did you go shopping for? Oh, it's your birthday. Oh my gosh, happy birthday! Like, oh my goodness, like that's so exciting. How old are you gonna be? Like, oh my gosh, you're turning 21. Oh my goodness.
Yeah,
Ooh,
it goes
that's
back
gonna be
to
so
that
much fun."
credibility. Oh, she's a human. She's
Yeah.
not over here just trying to sell me something.
Yeah,
That makes a
exactly.
difference.
It's like just be a human. Like honestly, there's that saying that goes, "You will catch more flies with sugar than vinegar." So as long as you're just like being sweet and genuine, and I feel like that's what really stands out to people nowadays, because when you are kind and when you are just like being a genuine person, they're more apt to wanting to work with you.
Right.
But I think that especially since COVID, people have just been craving more of that human interaction,
Yes.
and they just want to have like real relationships with people. We've really realized how important relationships with other people are. So being able to get that point across in your business is extremely important.
Yeah, absolutely. I think also a good aspect to that is on the flip side of that, as an agent, not taking everything so personal.
Yeah.
Like if someone doesn't want to buy or someone is, you call them for the first time and they're rude to you. We always talk about how would you feel if someone randomly called you and, trying to come to your house and all that. So you have to, once again, be a human. And it's like, don't take it personal.
Yeah.
Because it's just like, I mean, we don't know what we don't know. And then also, because honestly, that can affect the rest of your day. You have one bad phone call and then your attitude is upside down for the rest of the day. Do you think that anyone else is going to want to interact with you? That's a big thing because I see that a lot in agents, just getting it.
Being able to bounce back from the objections.
Yes,
Yeah.
because just getting all in your feelings about it, like that doesn't help you moving
Or
forward.
like if you're at the register and you have somebody that's all like irritated because they had an expired coupon and
Yes, because I mean, like, for example, like, I don't really have many bad interactions.
Yeah.
I'll say that. But I did have one from a client, and I could have let that tarnish me for a long time because the interaction was very odd. He was like a Gen Z. And our interaction was that apparently he was trying to date me.
Oh.
Yes. But I took that into a business opportunity. He was trying to share his business with me. I shared it with mine with him. He was like selling some type of herbal drinks or something.
Oh my
I
gosh.
was like,
Was it Herbalife?
probably.
I was gonna say Herbalife is one of those like MLMs that I don't know how in the world. I mean, like I think they've been sued like at least 10 times by now.
That's not surprising to me because it's like the way he approached me, I was like, okay, I'll get some information. That's fine. If you take my information, I'll take yours. And it went from there. But it turned into, I don't know what he was looking from me. I don't know. He was asking me out to lunch and all that. I'm like, I'm trying to keep this professional. It's like we got through an appointment. I wrote the app. And then 2 weeks later, he canceled it.
Yeah.
I could have been like, I could have called him like, what? But I'm like, you know what? It's fine.
Yeah,
It's
sometimes
fine.
it's just better to choose your peace over anything else.
Exactly. I'm like,
Yeah.
it's fine. He like went as far as like calling my boss, like trying to complain on me. I'm like, and really, I'm doing you a favor, sir, because I can be reporting you.
Yeah.
But I'm just like, no, I'm just going to move on. This
Mm-hmm.
will come back to me tenfold, and it did.
Yeah, exactly.
So not taking everything so personal as an agent.
Yeah. I think that your mindset really matters. I know that there are so many people that are like, oh, you have to stay positive. Oh, you have to, like, yes, I do think that positivity is extremely important. And then your mindset is really important in your business as well. But you have to also acknowledge that you are as well a human. And you have to acknowledge that if something irritates you or if something like really pisses you off, give yourself 15 minutes to just let it out in like vent in like a really healthy way, whether that is complaining to a coworker or like maybe to your spouse or maybe
to go walk around the building.
Yeah,
step outside.
Do whatever it is that you need to do, but like give yourself 15 minutes to just be like, okay, I'm mad about it now, but now I've let it out, and now it's like, okay, now I'm gonna let it go. You can't dwell on it.
Yep.
Because if you
That's
do,
fair.
it's just going to deteriorate you from the inside out, and then it's going to make you not enjoy your job. And then,
Exactly.
I feel like that's when you really start doing things for the wrong reasons, and then that's when you really start pushing yourself to do it just more for the money as
Right.
opposed to doing it
And
for
building relationships.
Yeah, because that's what this business is all about. A lot of people, would sit here and say, like, from a consumer standpoint, they most of the time would see agents as, like, these like money hungry people. And granted, like, yes, there are the people out there that are like that. But from, after now working in this industry, I have found that the best agents out there are the ones that do value the relationships with their clients. And that's the reason why they are so successful.
Because you'll get paid for that.
Yeah. Like you'll
get paid
get
for that.
so much farther by just being genuine, being honest, being transparent. And if you don't know the answer to something, just say you don't know. But
Right.
say like, hey, I'll find out the answer for you. Because there's no point in lying to someone just to make it seem like you know it all when you really don't.
And honestly, it's a disservice for the agent to try and run a business that way, because I don't know about other agencies, but I mean, if someone cancels our business, they take the money back from us.
Yeah.
So that's not beneficial to anyone. I sat in your house and helped you out with this whole plan, formed a fake relationship. When I left, you didn't see the value in what we were talking about, so you didn't keep it.
Yeah.
Like that's not helpful to anyone. And that's what I always explain to my clients too. I'm not selling this to you. I see that you have a need and I'm trying to help you with that.
That's the reason why, like, whenever, like, the managers at Vicky's would always be like, oh, well, like, keep pushing, go for the 3 no's, do this, that, and the other. And it's like, guys, if she doesn't want it, she doesn't want it. Like, and at the end of the day, like, no, yes, I might be able to get her to go through the register and pay that $300-$400 for sweatpants, bras, panties, and whatever. But if she's going to come back and return it the next day, then what's the point?
Exactly.
Like, why in the world are we just sitting here shoving stuff in people's faces that they don't want or that they don't need?
Yep. And I think that's exactly why I wasn't thriving in my sales role at Victoria's Secret. I was in sales for 2 months max.
And then you moved to backroom.
And then I moved to backroom because I'm like, I don't like the selling strategy here.
Yeah.
I don't like it. So it's like, I wouldn't do it.
I feel like a lot of my sales nature, though, just came from education and really just telling people, like, okay, this is the way that it should fit. This should be, like, the way that the band should fit. This should be the way that the cup would fit. And then the straps and so on and so forth. I mean, when it comes to insurance, it's the same thing. It's like,
it sells
okay,
itself.
Yeah. It's like you should just be providing the education and the information that client needs in order to make an informed decision for themselves.
Exactly.
Because when they feel like they are the ones who made the decision, that's when they're less likely to, want to either back out of the plan, and then you get chargebacks and all this other stuff. So if they feel like they're the ones who confidently made the decision, that's when you know that you're going to be able to retain that client for a longer period of time, because they don't feel sold. They feel educated.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And that's really the goal.
Yeah.
It is.
Yep. Let's go ahead and jump into having your SMART goals being relevant to your overall business plan. So depending on what you want your production to be, it pretty much like is a numbers game, because you'll be like, okay, I'm going to contact 500 people. That means that I'm probably going to get back like, maybe 30 to 50 responses. That means that I'll probably end up having about 15 appointments, and then I'll probably end up closing on 5.
Right.
Whatever that relevancy looks like for you is also making sure that you have to understand that as an agent or as a business owner, and especially when you are in this type of sales role, you have to get comfortable with being uncomfortable and being in those really uncomfortable situations, because you do have to put a lot out there. And sometimes you really do feel like you're on the spot. And especially when people are asking you these questions, the more that you are in the industry and the more that you feel comfortable with the information, the more confident and educated that you yourself are. So you're able to then pass on the information to them. But to
Yes.
somebody who's maybe new starting out in the industry, it can be really nerve wracking because you feel like you don't have all the answers.
Right.
And so when people are asking you questions, you're kind of like,
But the good thing about the company that I'm with is that they pride us on reaching out for help.
Yeah.
And it's like, as a new agent, really your main goal is to set appointments. And then you bring someone more experienced with you.
Yeah.
It's like, and you do that until you get comfortable. Because a lot of people, like me, I'm more of a visual learner. It's only so much I can read and study for me to understand. Like, I really need to see it. I really need to do it. And also, a great thing is they kind of pride you in mess it up. Just mess it up. Because then you won't do that same mistake again. So if you go out and you write an app on your own and it's all messed up, all the information is incorrect, you still get a congratulations because you tried. You had enough confidence to try.
Yeah.
I had to get comfortable, like you said, with being uncomfortable because I'm more of like I want to do it right the first time. I don't want to get all that wrong and you come to me saying everything is wrong. Like, I was really afraid of that. And I feel like I'm working towards my confidence and just doing it. And I do say that me working with newer agents helps me a lot with my confidence because I'm like in appointments now. I'm like, oh, I'm the senior agent here. And they're asking me for help.
Yeah.
But that keeps me on my toes. That keeps me in the know, I feel like, because some things that maybe I haven't done in a long time, since they're newer, I'm like, oh, got to get back to the basics. And we have like steps that we're supposed to do. Of course, when you get a little comfortable, you cutting steps, and it's like, it's good to stick to the plan.
Yeah.
And it's like, you this works because you see so many senior agents and thriving in this. So if you follow the process that you'll get the results that you want. And it's like cutting corners, that's when you feel like you get stuck or you don't know what you're doing. And I feel like cuz pretty much when we start the first 4 months, we were working one-on-one with the trainer. So you feel like, okay, I got this. But then when you go out by yourself, you're like, whoa, I have to do all the talking by myself. I have to remember.
The training wheels are coming off.
Yes, I have to remember all the paperwork that I need to bring. I have to make sure I ask all the right questions. So it's like the pressure's on. But I feel like my trainer saw more potential in me than I did in myself when I first started because he had me going out by myself in like my 3rd week. I'm like, no, but I can't do that. Like, I can't. He's like, yes, you can. I'm like, okay, I'm just do it. And then before he would try and he would play on my nerves to make me a little stronger. Because he's like, when we're on the porch waiting for the person to come to the door, he's like, all right, this the one. It's going to make or break you. It's like, this will be the one to tell you if this going to be the career for you. I'm like, why would you say that before we walk in? And then when I get nervous, I talk really fast. I'm tripping over my words. And he just let me do it. He just let me trip all the way through it. And then after, he was like, good job. I mean, you sound like Terrence Howard, like you was about to cry, but you did good. And after that, I feel like I got better each time. It was so nerve-wracking, Kels. I was like, I thought I was going to pee my pants.
Dude, I remember what it was like when I first started in the fitting room. Like, I had no idea what I was doing. So but when you first start out, you're so nervous because you don't want to get it wrong. You don't want to mess up. And like, you put all this like really unnecessary pressure on yourself.
Yes.
And I feel like even to, coming from the millennial generation where we're now very self-aware, but like now we're realizing like, okay, this is what we needed is we need lots of therapy because our parents needed therapy and our grandparents, they really needed
and they
therapy.
didn't go.
Exactly. So like we're very self-aware and we're very aware of like all of the pressures that were put on us by our parents because their parents put a lot of pressure on them to succeed and things like that. So I thought about my personality throughout school and then throughout college and then while I was working, and I put a lot of unnecessary pressure on myself to succeed. But that really just came from the way that I was raised. And I know that a lot of people will be like, "Oh, well, you're so hardworking, you're all this, that, and the other." But it's like I'm literally sitting there having like an emotional, like mental breakdown because I didn't do all that I thought that I was supposed to do. And it really can be hard to not beat yourself up.
Yes.
Especially when when you maybe have production goals and maybe you're not meeting them. And so then it's really hard or it's really easy, I guess I should say, to get into this like mental downward spiral that just keeps leading you in the wrong direction. But, as long as you're able to acknowledge where your mistakes were
Mm-hmm.
and be able to move up from that
Right.
is going to be where you'll find that the success is really going to come from. You have to walk before you can run, and you are going to trip a couple times,
For sure.
before you find that you're able to find something that works.
Yes. I feel like my tripping is usually like you get too comfortable. Like, oh, I wrote 3 apps already this week. I don't really need to call anybody. I don't really need to. And it's really doing the same thing every day. It's like no matter what the outcome is, if you do the same activity every day, you'll wind up getting the results you want. It may take 2-3 weeks of you doing the same thing every day, but I feel like it'll get better.
Yeah.
And I feel like when I start losing sight of, oh my gosh, I don't have enough people to see. I'm like, let me just get back to making my calls. Because I feel like over time I'm getting better with calls. So I feel like I can schedule, like, for example, I can make 50 calls and make 3-4 appointments. So that comfortability makes me make less calls.
Yeah.
That should not be the case. I should still do the same thing all the time because I can't have too many appointments.
Yeah.
If I do, I can have other agents help me.
Yeah.
So that's not a thing that you should do. Just get comfortable and fall into that. And I have to remind myself all the time too, like, get comfortable with your little 3 appointments,
right,
that you scheduled in 1 hour. Just keep going. Keep going.
Yeah. I feel like that is one of the really, really great benefits to working with an agency as an independent agent. So, because most of our IAD agents are just completely independent. They're just like a one woman or a one man show.
That's tough.
And it is, because a lot of agencies will have agents that just get paid hourly. They're not solely commission if they're like the one woman or the one man show. So that can be in and of itself a great motivator for you if you're kind of like doing this as your own business. It's still really important to take what you've learned in setting goals, setting production goals, realizing what it is that you need to do, having it be relevant for you, and really even realizing too, like, what you really, really like doing and like getting joy out of. So for you, like, with your agency, you guys send out the direct mailers, you guys will get like, interest cards back or whatever. And then that's when you start like making those, it's not really necessarily cold calls. They are sort of like warm, they're lukewarm leads, but there are probably some people that are like, I would rather gnaw off my own arm than send out mailers and, make phone calls or talk to people that I've never met before. There are quite a few of our agents that are just like, I don't make calls. I don't send out mailers. I work solely off of referrals because I just prefer to meet people in person. I go where my target audience is. I meet them in person. And then I will sometimes even set up an appointment like right then and there. Like, well, obviously, you have to set up your scope of appointment first.
I feel like you need a little experience to be able to tell what marketing or what
works for you.
What really works for you. Because, we have a newer agent. She's probably been there like 7 months. And most of her business is from referrals. Yeah. And she's like one of the top agents. She doesn't make a lot of calls. She probably makes like 40, 50 calls in a week.
Yeah.
But her numbers are like blowing out the water. Yeah. So it's like whatever works for you. They don't tell us what to do.
Yeah.
There's certain days, we do have office days to where we have 3 hours of each day calling. But other than that, you're doing it on your own. Whether you want to make 1,000 calls or whether you want to go out in the world and meet 50 people, that's solely up to you.
Yeah.
So I feel like me just learning me is like I'm just doing it all right now because I don't know. It's all uncomfortable for me. So I can't choose one. I have to do it all.
Yeah.
Yeah. So once I get to the point, I plan to be able to just go out in public and have 18 appointments, just talk to someone at the grocery store and get my nails done. But I'm not that friendly. I am, but I'm not. It's like I can talk to someone when they initiate a conversation, but I can go all day, running errands all day, and not talk to anyone.
Would you describe yourself as more of an introvert or an extrovert?
For sure, introvert. It's like I can be an extrovert for a short time, and then I'm like, that was a lot. That was exhausting.
So how do you feel that you draw at the end of a long, just like busy day, not necessarily like a bad day, but you're just like, you're just like, wow, I had a lot of stuff to do today. What do you do at the end of that day? Like, you're off work, or whatever. What's like the first thing that you want to do when you get home?
First of all, get out my business clothes, my comfy, stretchy clothes. I feel like I have a boyfriend now, so I talk to my boyfriend. Yes, just not even. Just to decompress, just to talk about my day, whether it's good or bad or indifferent. Just I don't know, just talking out loud. And then a lot of times I just don't want to talk at all. Like sometimes I just want to sit there. I may like read something on my iPad. I may watch a little TV.
Yeah, you'll have like you time though.
Yes, like
Okay.
sometimes I need to not talk to anyone. Like
Yeah.
I feel bad sometimes too. 'Cause my parents are older, so I need to call them. I need to check in on them. But I'm like, oh my god, I didn't talk to so many people today on the phone. I do not want to talk to anybody.
Yeah.
So,
But so like if you had a bad day though,
mm-hmm.
what do you do if you have a bad day?
On my way home, I'm stopping for some wine. I'm getting some wine.
But I mean, like, are you calling like all like the girlfriends? Be like, let's go out. I had a crazy day. Like, let's go.
I'm hardly ever like that.
Okay.
I'm hardly ever like that because out. I mean, sometimes out is just as stressful to me. Like,
I feel like that's the way that I've gotten to, and I think
Yes.
I feel like that's just more of like me coming into like my age and like now going into like my 30s. I'd actually just had this
Yes.
conversation over this past weekend with my in-laws because they were going up to their cottage for the weekend, and because Luke and I had no power, we were staying at their house for the weekend. And so I was kind of just like joking around, and I was like, oh yeah, we're gonna throw like a wild like raging party while you guys are gone. It's gonna be we're like young kids again. And they were like, oh well, like no, don't let things get like too crazy, like don't break anything or what and whatnot. And I was like, guys, I'm 30. Like I'm not 19 years old anymore. Like parties
They're
look
just
a lot
okay with
different
it.
now. I'm
Yes.
like when you're partying in your 30s consists of like you and your friends sitting on the couch, coming over at 7 p.m., maybe having like 2 or 3 beers, like maybe like a glass of wine or two,
and
then everybody's
great.
home in bed by 10:30.
If not sleep on the couch.
Exactly.
Because yes, that's my decompress, honestly.
Yeah.
I'm watching some random series or I'm watching some crime TV.
Yeah.
I'm watching some crimes.
Ooh, I
That's
love
how I
Bailey
decompress.
Sarian's Murder Mystery Makeup Mondays. Oh my
I'm
god,
in
I like live for it.
2020. I'm in American Monster. The list goes on.
Oh yeah.
So I think that seeing people be crazy on TV, I'm like, my day was not that bad.
Right,
because
exactly. But I think that's really like the difference between introverts and extroverts. The difference between an introvert and an extrovert is the way that you draw energy. And I'd actually talked about this on episode 1 with Jason, was that for an extrovert, at the end of like a long, like busy day, a person who's an extrovert will be like, oh my gosh, like let's go out, like no, let's they want to be more social. They want to go out and talk to people. They might want to like go out to like a restaurant or a bar or maybe like a party but at the end of a bad day, they will do the opposite. So if somebody who's an extrovert has a really bad day, the last thing that they want to do is talk to anybody. Okay. They're like, I am going to sit in silence. I'm going to scroll through my phone for 30 minutes. Don't talk to me.
You consider yourself an extrovert?
I consider myself an introverted extrovert, if that makes any sense.
Yes.
Because I feel like I do a little bit of both. I feel like for me, I'm a very like active and like social person, but I do find that I get burnt out pretty easily in the social aspect. So I'm comfortable with being able to like go out there and be like a social person, but like my social battery is definitely a lot shorter than what it used to be.
Okay.
Yeah.
I could see that.
Hopping back to the relevancy of your SMART goals. So like I said, if you've used direct mail and you find like either that works for you, it doesn't work for you, like whatever the case may be, and if you want to see different results, maybe you might have to try something new. So if you're not utilizing social media, what are you doing with yourself, right?
Right.
It's like granted, yes, more of the senior population is on Facebook, but so say for example, since you're in life insurance, a lot of your target audience is more of like Gen Z and millennials.
Right.
Because you really want to get those people investing while they can and really educating them that tomorrow is never promised. I mean, my dad was 53 when he died. And I mean, to kind of put it kind of bluntly, I mean, he literally dropped dead in the driveway. It was crazy. I mean, we're pretty sure that he had like a blood aneurysm to the brain or it was like a heart attack or something. But I mean, like he was in bad health. He was a pack-a-day smoker. You know, he had diabetic neuropathy. He never took his diabetic meds. And, granted he didn't drink, but he drank a lot of coffee. I mean, like this man drank like a pot of coffee a day. So heart problems was probably what it was. But at the same time, we don't know for sure.
Okay.
But really, explaining to younger generations how important life insurance is, because you see so many people out online being like, oh, donate to my, cousin's GoFundMe, to fund for their funeral. And it's like, dude, the funeral is just the beginning. I mean, like, shoot, but I also used to work at a funeral home too. My mom is an executive admin assistant at a funeral home.
Okay, yes.
And during COVID, when they were really busy, I was helping them with like filing and whatever else. And you sit there and think about how much money a funeral costs. And a lot of people don't know. I mean, the cheapest funeral that you can have for someone, like that's not like direct cremation with like no memorial or whatever, is like $5,000 at a minimum. I mean, like the average cost is $15,000 for a funeral, and that's not even including like
getting buried.
Yeah. Oh my gosh. Like being buried is so expensive because you have to pay for the plot of land.
You have to pay for them to dig the hole.
Yeah.
Break the ground.
Yeah. You also have to pay for. It's not even just the casket. You have to have like the concrete. What's it called? It's like a chamber or something.
I want to call it a tomb.
Secrets.
But I don't. I don't know if that's the right way.
If you know what we're talking about, leave it in the comments below.
Please.
Help. But so like you have to pay for that, and then you have to pay for the casket, and then you have to pay for the funeral services, and then like on top of that, you have to pay for flowers. And a lot of people are kind of like making a lot of these decisions based on emotion, because especially when you have lost someone very suddenly and tragically, it can be really, you're kind of just like sitting there like, yeah, you're overwhelmed. You don't know what decisions you want to make.
Yep.
You're sitting here like looking at all these prices and thinking, holy crap, how in the world am I going to pay for this? So if you don't have life insurance, it's like
added stressor.
Yeah. I'm very, very, very thankful that my dad had 3 different life insurance policies because he was the breadwinner. So I was like, how in the world is my mom going to pay her bills, you know? And the way that he even had his policy split up between the beneficiaries was that my mom got 50% of all 3 policies, and then my brother and I each got 25%. And then that's how, I used that money to get through school. I don't have a dime of student loans because of my dad's life insurance. And granted, like a lot of people, like there were so many of my friends or other girls that would be like, oh, you're so lucky. You don't have to take out student loans. I'm like, yeah, but also, but my dad's dead.
Exactly. Yeah. No.
And they're like, oh, yeah, that's true. And I'm like,
I had to lose a parent for that. So,
Yeah.
I mean, it's a double-edged sword there.
Yeah. Kind of like jumping back to Facebook. I'd actually, I had seen on Facebook one time that you had done an event. It was like at a park or something. I remember it was like a picture of like you were sitting like at your table with like, you know, the company logo on it. You're at this like park. Like what was that, and what was that like?
So that was, it was at Cass Park, actually. And it was, so my sister has a nonprofit organization to where she gives back to young moms with
cool.
kids. So it's more like an event for the kids. So it was like a bunch of inflatables out there. And it was like almost like a back to school type of thing. Like the last little hoorah before school starts. So there was like inflatables, there was food out there. There was even a barber to where you can get your kids' haircut and just tip. There was face painting. There was like some vendors, like as far as like snacks and things like that.
Yeah.
So our target for that particular event was, of course, to talk about kids, juvenile policies. Because we don't often think about losing our kids.
Yeah.
Which is a scary thing to even think about it, but death has no age.
Yeah.
So it's like
tomorrow is never promised. I
never.
tell people all the time.
But yeah, so that event, it was more towards kids. So we had like some pamphlets on our table. We try and make it less aggressive as possible because there's only so much information you're going to share at the park. Yeah. So it's more like just write down your name, your number. We'll reach out to you at a later time. Yeah. We actually did get some business from that.
Because you're just generating brand awareness. Like
exactly.
your presence is just there, which is going to generate awareness. And that's another reason why I tell agents all the time, like you should have at least some sort of social media presence. I'm not saying you have to use Facebook every single day.
Right.
But I mean, like you should be posting at least once a week.
For sure.
Like at a minimum, at least once a week, something educational, something about you or your family, or like I say all the time, I swear to God, like our listeners are going to be so sick and tired of me saying this. But when you are talking about your business, spreading brand awareness, whether it be in person or on social media, wherever, billboards, it should be who you are, what you do, and how what you do provides that person with value. Every single time.
Okay. So I will say I'm trying to get a little better at the TikTok. That's a little new for me. I feel like I'm such a perfectionist. I have to tone that down a lot because...
Just post. Just do it.
But my thing is I overthink about, like, when you want to do, like, the voiceovers with I'm like, you have to learn what they're saying, or I'm probably going to stick to the ones where you're pointing around and you can But I feel like people should really utilize the schedule posts. Because Facebook, Instagram, you can schedule posts. And that's really what I do,
I just found out the other day that I could schedule my own reels, like, within the Instagram app. I used to have to only do it through Meta Business Suite, but then I found out you could actually do it in app the other day. My life is forever changed.
Honestly, I feel like, so what we do is we have campaigns that you can sign up for. So I signed up for like a Medicare campaign, a life insurance campaign. I signed up for one for fitness. That's just what comes to the top of my head. So each campaign probably make maybe 1 or 2 posts a week. So it's like not all one topic at one time. But what I do like is that there's articles, like short little articles, maybe like a 3-4 minute read. But I feel like I've been getting quite a few clicks on those. But like I said, not a lot of people comment on there.
Yeah.
But I do feel like my older family, on Facebook, they love to share your stuff. So I do feel like they share my stuff. Yes, literally. So I do feel like that has helped me a lot. Just what I really do on Sunday nights.
Yeah.
Or just Sunday when I'm just chilling, watching TV. It's so easy to just schedule something.
Yeah.
So I really just kind of set a few weeks up like that. And I make random posts in between there, but I'm not like, oh my God, I got to make a post. I at least know there's something being posted. And as of now, I use Facebook, Instagram, and LinkedIn. TikTok, it's a little harder to post our content directly from Sprinkler on there, so you have to kind of come up with your own content.
Yeah.
But what I've been trying to do is bounce it off the articles that have been posted on my sites. Try and make a TikTok about that as it relates to that. So at least it'll be on brand. Like all my social media accounts will kind of be working together in a sense.
Yeah. I always tell people, we're going to be talking about this in further episodes when we talk about social media marketing, but when you're utilizing social media, I always tell people, I'm like, you always want to go for like the 3-2-1 rule. Out of every 6 posts that you make, 3 should be educational, 2 should be about you and your company culture, and then only 1 should be promotional. So there are so many different plans and policies that people don't know about, and they know that, they need life insurance, but they just don't know that it's affordable, and they don't know how to access it. They don't know what sort of policy they can afford.
So it's just reevaluating that need, and that also goes back into keeping in contact with your clients.
Yeah.
Because needs change over time. I mean, say, for example, like a young family, a dad may feel like he need $1 million worth of coverage right now while his kids are young and in school, young millennial families, which I come across a lot too. But I mean, when you turn 70, you probably won't need as much coverage. Your kids are grown. They're not in the house. You don't have as many obligations. You have more assets than you have bills, so needs change over time. And I like to be the agent, since I do plan on doing this for a long time. I want to be the person that will help you with everything, even before you retire.
Yeah.
And we always pride ourselves on saying, I'm probably not your first insurance agent, but I want to be the last.
Yeah.
So I try to maintain those relationships as best as I can, whether it's random calls. Some of my clients like, come over for some wine. I'm like, okay, I'm not going to do that. But, thanks for the offer. That means you really care about me, and I created value, showed my value to you. So I appreciate that.
Yeah. I think that kind of goes into even personal branding as well. I talk to people all the time about, I'm like, listen, whoever you are in your real life and whoever you are as a business owner and an agent should kind of be what people get a taste of when they first hear about you, whether it be online or maybe they meet you in person, whatever the case may be. I'm like, you don't have to be the stereotypical agent in the 3-piece suit anymore. That's not the world that we live in today. I mean, granted, there might be there are some agents that'll say oh no, everybody expects you to wear a 3-piece suit. No, they don't.
No,
they absolutely do not. That might be your target audience. That might be who you are, and that might be your personal brand.
Right.
But you should be wanting to work with clients that want to work with you because of who you are.
Exactly.
At this point in the insurance business, you're not selling the products anymore. I mean, you are, but you're more selling yourself.
Right. Exactly.
People want to work with you because of your personality and your work ethic and your knowledge. And that's something that people are really looking for. They're also looking for somebody who's honest and is going to tell them hey, you know what? Just because this is the most expensive plan does not mean that it's going to give you what you need.
Exactly.
So, and just being really honest and transparent about that as well. So jumping back into the last portion of our SMART goals is having time-based or time-bound goals. So every goal should have a deadline. If you say, for example, that you want to write 10 apps in the month of March, you need to be able to be okay, so my goal has a beginning and an end point. What is it that I have to do within this period of time in order to achieve that goal? And monthly goals are awesome because, obviously the calendar starts over at the beginning of every month. So your timed goals will motivate you to work faster, harder, and stronger in order to accomplish those goals. And it sets a sense of urgency without being too stressed or overwhelmed. So the 3 questions that I like to ask people are what can I do right now to help me reach my goals? Where should I be at my goal within 2 weeks? And then what can I do over the course of the next month to help me achieve that goal? So say for example, if you set that goal of like, okay, I'm going to write 10 apps this month. So 2 weeks in, if you're only at like the 3 or 2 out of the 4 that you should be at, you're kind of sitting there and evaluating, okay, now what more do I have to do in order to reach 10? Whereas right now I'm sitting at 2. So what does that look like for you?
I feel like typically it brings me back to kind of what I said earlier, just doing the same thing every day. Your activity, because you can't get comfortable. Being consistent.
Yeah.
Because even if you feel like you don't have the right amount of apps per week, did you make the same amount of calls? Did you make the same amount of door knocks? Because if you didn't, you didn't really give yourself a fair shot.
Yeah.
I say. So I just say going back to the basics. Whatever I feel like I'm falling off or I've gotten too comfortable, I go back to the basics. That means this week I have to make more calls. I have to dedicate more time, like block off time in my schedule to door knock. Because that can be a thing too, to where you feel like I have so many appointments or I have so many appointments on this day, even though I'm typically supposed to be door knocking at this time. You miss out on the opportunity for the upcoming days. So it's like sticking to your schedule. That's also important to me because easily you can get kind of carried away with a client on the phone. So say, for example, oh, I can only meet you on Tuesday at 9 a.m. Well, I can't meet Tuesday at 9 a.m. Because in my schedule, I have, activity to do. So just prioritizing me as an agent in my schedule. I run my own business.
Yeah.
I don't let my clients run my business as far as my schedule.
That was another thing that I was going to mention,
you can easily get sucked into that, letting your client run everything. Like, oh, I can be so specific. Like, you can't tell me that out of 7 days, you only have 1 hour free. Like, come on, we can work something out. We can compromise here. I can come in the evening when I'm done with what I'm supposed to do. So I'm really flexible in my schedule to my clients. I feel like I'm very available to them, but I also have to be available to myself. I have to give myself a fair chance.
Yeah.
I can't schedule appointments during my prospecting time.
Yeah.
Like, that's just what it is. Sticking to my activity is detrimental.
Yeah.
Honestly.
I definitely think that making your business work for you and for your life is going to be a lot better than making your life work for your business.
Yes.
You don't want to spread yourself so thin. And granted, like, I'm not going to sit here and say, like, oh, don't work hard. Don't work like 80, 90 hours a week. I'm going to say don't burn yourself out.
Exactly.
Don't burn yourself out doing the activities that are not going to bring you joy, that are not going to bring you the results that you want. And, honestly, experiment. Try something new. I mean, like, I would say to anybody who's brand new who might be listening or watching on YouTube is to pick something, try it out, be super consistent with it for like a month, maybe 2, see what you get out of it. And then if it's not for you, try something else. Be really consistent, dedicate yourself to that for like 1 to 2 months, see what works. Hey, oh, well, this worked a little bit over here, but like, hey, let's try something else as well.
Yep.
And you're continuing to like keep evolving within your business and really finding what's going to work for you. I mean, a lot of agents have found that the most success that they get is from finding any one person and then asking for referrals. So I really, really enjoy working with you. You're so nice. You live in this beautiful community. And, I love the fact that you're very like open-hearted and you're like easy to talk to and everything else. Do you know anybody else like that needs help like I just gave to you? And some people will be like, oh my gosh, yeah, you could help my sister, my cousin.
Exactly, yes.
Oh, you can even help my friend Debbie down the street. And Debbie's like,
It gets
oh,
like
yes,
that.
Debbie.
Yeah.
I saw you on Facebook.
Debbie is your favorite name.
Deborah.
But no, I think that's very important also. And my goal is to get 2 referrals per one person I sit down with.
Yeah.
And especially because if I'm writing a policy, we at least need to have 2 beneficiaries. So there, you got 2 people right there. I mean, as long as you're making it clear, I'm going to reach out to your family.
Yeah.
And a lot of times that can be a referral too.
Yeah.
Yeah, as long as you're coming from like a genuine place, that can be felt.
Yeah.
I
mean, I think that as time goes on and as you kind of get into this business, it feels really unnatural to ask for those things and to like ask somebody for referrals and like asking people for their friends and family's phone numbers. But the more that you do it, the more natural that it becomes to you.
Yes.
And granted, you have to acknowledge that there are going to be some people that are going to be really apprehensive and be like, oh, I'm not really comfortable with giving you their information. Okay, well, perfect. Well, here, then why don't you give them mine? I would love to have Nancy look me up on Facebook, sniff me out, see what she likes. Here, check out my website. And then when she's comfortable, I would love to have her contact me.
Okay, yes.
And then that's when it kind of really, really opens up those doors for communication to help people really become more comfortable with you, and
Yes.
that you've established credibility and whatnot.
That's one thing that I have to incorporate into things that I say, though. I'll share my business card or my information, but it's not often I tell someone, "Oh, follow me on Instagram or Facebook," and I should. I really should.
When you're an insurance agent, having a website is pretty much like a must,
Yeah.
because that's really realistically how people are going to find you.
Mhm.
And you essentially do need like a landing page at
Exactly.
least.
Yes.
I don't want to say that website building is easy. It's not necessarily easy, but I mean,
Mhm.
there are tools that you can use that are easy enough. And then also, as a full service FMO, we also do that as well for agents too. So
Okay.
if they need just like a basic website, we set
Mhm.
that up for them for free. Now, if they want like a full blown website, they want like multiple landing pages, that's when
Mhm.
we'll kind of put them more on like a web development, like paid plan.
Okay.
But like the actual just setup of the website is just like a service that we offer.
Okay.
But yeah, so why is it that insurance agents should be using SMART goals in their business? Well, number one, it's going to help you paint a picture of where you want your business to go, and it gives you a clear direction and pictures of your goals and how that's going to motivate you. But yeah, SMART goals also help you realize the important steps, what's necessary and what's not. And it's also going to help you decide if it's something that you want to continue to work for you, or if it's kind of just like a waste of your time. Kind of like
Right.
how I said that we want to be consistent, try something out for 2 months, and then if you're like, okay, I really, really don't like this. Because if you are going to force yourself to continue to do something that you don't want to do, you have to decide between whether, do I not want to do it because it hasn't been working, or do I really not like doing it because it's just not who I am?
Right.
But yeah, we should be, as an agent, you should be using multiple short-term goals to achieve your long-term goal.
Absolutely.
So you said you have your quarterly goals. What do your yearly goals look like, and do your yearly goals, are they essentially a long-term buildup of your daily, weekly, monthly, and quarterly goals?
It is. It is, honestly. Just because I want it to be attainable, like you
Yeah.
said before. I don't want to I'm into my second year now, but it's still very new to me. So it's
Yeah.
like I don't want to give myself this huge goal and then I miss it by a long shot, and then that will have me feeling like, is this really for me? So I want to feel like at least until I reach my production of the 2,000 a month, 6,000 in 3 months, that is going to be my goal.
Yeah.
That's going to be my goal. And it is more than what I did last year. And I'd say, and honestly, it's hard for me to even say that because in my first 4 or 5 months, I'm working with someone else. So a lot of that time, it wasn't something that I'm doing myself. So it's a little harder for me to use that as my base.
Yeah.
I feel like if anything, I'm going to use this year as my base because I have more experience. I'm
Yeah.
out on my own. Last year, I'm really calculating what me and my manager did together.
Yeah.
So I feel like this year is like really my base. I have a lot more education under my belt. We are forever being trained on something new. So I feel like doing my due diligence of doing my homework and being a student of my business, I feel like once I attain my monthly and my quarterly goal, at least for the first 2 quarters, then I feel like I can, kind of raise it a bit. Like, oh, I won't say easy, but at least I did what I wanted to do.
Yeah.